listening to the NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network, part of Sports Illustrated, giving you daily NFL Draft, Dynasty, and Devy Fantasy Football podcasts.
Welcome back inside of the Draft Seminar. My name is Matt Hicks at the FF_educator, and I am joined by a crew of members from the NFL Draft Bible, starting as always with my co-host John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar. And we're also joined by a couple of our Devy analysts, Anthony Corrente at Dynasty Drive and Brandon Lejeune at Devy Deep Dive. Gentlemen, we are all stuck inside, braving a northeast storm coming down on all of us. I appreciate you being with us as always. John, we'll get to you here in a second, but we got to welcome in our guest. Anthony, thanks for joining us, man. Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing over there and where the people can find you on Twitter before we jump into this mock draft today.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me. You can follow me on Twitter at Dynasty Drive. I have a Dynasty-based podcast that comes out once a week on Fridays that you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's now on YouTube as well, so you can find the show there. And then also doing Devy work, covering the Big 12 over at NFL Draft Bible with all you fine folks, and excited about all the stuff we've got coming up down the pipe. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
A company man pitching the website.
Got to.
I love it, man. I love it. Brandon, thanks for joining us. By the way, we're finally seeing the man that has been putting together all of our film for us. So I know you're going to mention it, Brandon, but this is the guy we talk about every week. So Brandon, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's been great. Thanks. You can follow me on Twitter at Devy Deep Dive. I do a podcast as well, a Devy podcast. So I try and focus on kind of deeper players in the space. I got a Devy dashboard, trying to actually build a community outside of the Twitterverse. I think there's a lot of guys out there that are looking for another alternative. That's all part of my dashboard. And I'm just thrilled to be part of the Draft Bible, thrilled making your films for you guys. You guys did a great job on all of those Senior Bowl preview shows. They were fantastic.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, let's go ahead and let's jump right into this because we have a great episode here. What we're doing a 2-round Superflex PPR, no tight end premium mock draft. I'm excited. There's not a lot of mock drafts out there. There's not a lot of 2-round mock drafts out there. So I think that this is going to be really helpful for our listeners. By the way, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast provider, I want to thank you for listening and remind you to subscribe and help support the entire NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network. We continue to climb the charts, and we are so excited to kick off another week here on the NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network. Now, without further ado, Anthony, you do have the first pick. I know it must be a really difficult pick for you at 101 here in this Superflex mock draft. So what are you going to do?
I really wanted to do something not chalk, but I can't not take Trevor Lawrence with the 101 in a Superflex mock. He's the complete package. He's everything I want. I really don't see that many scenarios where he's not going 101 in any Superflex drafts. So I will gladly take Trevor Lawrence, the cheapest he will ever be in any Superflex format.
All right. No overthinking it. I appreciate that. Now, I think John has the first decision of the draft. He's got to decide if he wants to stick with the running back position, or I should say stick with the quarterback position or pivot to running back. So, John, what's the move going to be here with the 102?
It was a decision. Obviously, in my opinion, it was between Justin Fields, the quarterback, or you could go Najee Harris. I chose Najee Harris here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have him at the number 1 running back on my board. It's not even close. I'll take him over everyone else. He is not the prospect of Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley, but he is damn good. And Matt and I have been talking about this for a year now. He is such a stupendous pass catcher. Matt and I did some film work over last summer, and the one thing Matt and I talked about was his ability to catch passes and run patterns. He is the entire package. And when you see 6'2", 230 pounds, and the guy can get down the field in the passing game, forget it. I absolutely love him. And there's talent at the quarterback position. There's 5 guys I like a lot. So I'll take the running back here and hope to grab one later.
All right. Understandable for sure. So, Brandon, where does that leave you here with the 103?
Well, I'm going to learn from experience through this pick because I have a lot of Superflex teams where I am short on quarterbacks, and there is nothing worse. I feel like I can't compete, so I am taking Justin Fields here. I find his fluctuation in value, all the discussions this year, kind of interesting. At the beginning of the Devy season, the argument was, is he the QB1 or is it Trevor Lawrence? And I still think he falls into that category. Everyone has Lawrence 101, I understand, but I think Fields, he's had some inconsistencies this season, but I still think his playmaking ability, his toughness. I just want quarterbacks in a Superflex format, and I'm going to take Justin Fields.
I love that mentality. Now, before I make the 104 pick here, I need to explain a little additional element that we threw into our mock draft here. We're not just running through a 2-round mock draft and taking the best guys off the board. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can already see this. We're actually building out a 6-player team. So everybody here is building out a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and then we each have 2 flex spots and a super flex spot. So I'm going to try to get a little cute with my strategy here and see if I can get away with doing what Brandon just alluded to, which is I'm going to try to fade the quarterback position, and I'm going to see if it can get back to me. And I'm going to start here at 104 with Jamar Chase, and I think he's the best player available right now. He is still, for me, the best wide receiver out there. I know there's kind of this push on Twitter to make him not the best wide receiver in the class. It's just not there for me. He can do everything well. He's got really sticky hands. He's a smooth route runner. And there's nothing that he doesn't do very well. And I think that's going to reflect in his NFL draft status. I think he's going to end up being a top 10 pick. And then I'm gonna double down on position players here. I'm gonna fade the quarterback position, and I'm gonna go Travis Etienne. There's this feeling floating out there. I think we're getting bored of Travis Etienne, and so we're finding reasons to nitpick him and pretend like he's not an explosive home run hitting player. But here's the bottom line. John took Najee Harris. For me, there is a cliff at the running back position after Travis Etienne. And I'm sure we're going to talk about Javonte Williams at some point, but for me, there's a sharp drop-off. So I'm getting my running back while I can, because I think these other fine folks are going to have to scrap a little bit here now that Travis Etienne is off the board. But Brandon, we're doing snake style here, so it's back to you at 106.
Yeah, and I can understand that philosophy. I like that. I'm going with my number 1 wide receiver. I'm going with Jalen Waddle. Been a fan of his for a long time. He's my number 1 wide receiver in my Devy dashboard. I think he's the most explosive receiver in the draft. His burst, his acceleration. I did a film on him on my YouTube channel a while back in March. And what I love is just he can just win all over the field, and he's tough. And I think he's like, people, this is a lazy comp, but like Tyreek 2.0, right? He's a little undersized perhaps, but I think his explosiveness and his playmaking ability all over the field. Wide receivers last longer in Dynasty. I was thinking about taking Javonte Williams here, but I've got another back who I have my eye on who I think might slip to me later. So I'm going to take my number 1 receiver in Waddle.
I love this pick, Brandon, and I feel like we have been some of the few people on the Jalen Waddle island. I know you've always had him at 1. He's never been my 1, but he's been my 2, and I'm not moving. So I love the conviction, and I love the validation here. And we're going to go ahead and move on to John with the 107. All right, John, it looks like your mic is not cutting through, so we will...
Wait, I got it.
There we go.
Sorry. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Technical difficulties.
The nor'easter's hitting them.
I can't do the chart and
the
the
storm.
microphone at once. So I'm looking at the board, and I noticed that Anthony took Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to gamble here that my quarterback that I like is going to fall to me. That led me to take my number 2 running back. Javonte Williams has now jumped Travis Etienne in my rankings. 5'10", 220 pounds. Last night I was bored, so I started to watch more film of Javonte Williams. I'm blown away at how good this young man is. In the passing game as a receiver and as a runner out of the backfield. I am biased. I like big backs. Whatever reason, I prefer backs over 210. It's not the end all. I understand that. But in a best case scenario, I'll take the guy pushing 220 to move the pile and the goal line. what I like about Williams, he can be your short yardage, he can be your goal line, and he's a pass catcher. So you're looking at a 3-down back with size and power. I'll go Javonte Williams and hope my quarterback falls.
All right, so now we've really hit the running back cliff. So I'm interested to see when it's going to come back around here. Brandon doesn't have a running back. Anthony doesn't have a running back, and we still have plenty of flex spots open up. But Anthony, with that being said, you're on the clock here on the turn with the 108 and the 109.
So we have certainly hit the running back cliff, so I'll just save that for later. And I was really hoping Jalen Waddle was going to make it to the 108. I should have known that wasn't going to happen amongst you fine folks. But I will take his teammate from Alabama, Devontae Smith, and hope that BMI Twitter doesn't, come after me for it. But I'm not worried. He's my wide receiver 3. I have Waddle and Chase both above him, but Smith is a great prospect. I feel confident that, his skill set will translate to the pros. I'm not terribly worried about what he'll weigh in at. He's produced, and this late in the first round, I'll definitely take a prospect of his caliber for sure. And then the 109, since everybody else is holding off on quarterbacks, I'm taking more of them. I'm taking BYU quarterback Zach Wilson.
Oh, I hate you. That was the guy I wanted.
Yeah, it was kind of like Brandon said earlier. I have too many Superflex teams where I got cute at quarterback and then left, picking the bottom of the barrel. So I'm content to go in with Lawrence and Wilson. Wilson, I think, has really, his stock has kind of shot through the roof through the end of the season here. But some of the throws are just kind of wild across the body, deep throws that you can't really coach. You either got it or you don't. So I'll gladly take Wilson to slide into my Superflex spot and then try and deal with the running back cliff later.
All right, John, one spot away from getting his guy. Who are you going to pivot to now that Zach Wilson's off the board?
Well, the receiver who I have at number 3 in my rankings is staring me in the face. And I know there's still Matt and I need quarterbacks. Brandon and Anthony, they've taken the top 3. I'm once again going to roll the dice here because I don't find the value at the quarterback. I am in love with Rashad Bateman. 6'2", 210 pounds. Matt knows I've been waxing poetically about this player all last summer. It seems like the train is starting to move with Bateman. I see some people like him. I have him at number 3. I have Jamar Chase. And then, who do I have at number 2? Why can't I remember that now? Well, I have Bateman. I'll come back. I don't have Devonta Smith too. And then I have Rashad Bateman, number 3. 1,219 yards, 11 touchdowns 2 years ago. This year he only had 472 yards, but he only played in 5 games. But the hands, the size, the route running, the physicality. And you're going to notice a theme. I like big players. You can't coach size. You can coach technique. You can coach playbook. You can coach a lot hands even. You can't coach size. I'll take my 6'2", 200-pound ex-receiver any day. I'll take Bateman here.
I feel like John needs to get to some leagues with some offensive linemen as part of the starting line. Point per pancake league? I don't know, John. All right, well, Brandon, we're closing in on the end of the first round here, and at 111, there is a specific player I'm hoping you don't take from me, so let's go ahead and get at it.
Well, this was an interesting point in the draft for me because there's a receiver I want, but I'm going to think that he might fall. I got the pick 4 picks later, but I'm going to go with my original theme. I'm going to go double down on the quarterback position, and I'm taking Trey Lance here. Again, you can never have enough quarterbacks in Superflex, and yeah, there's some risk with this pick, but I feel as though the depth of the wide receiver position, I can get wide receivers later, and I'm going to go with the upside. He's got the size, 6'4", 226. Yes, he's played 1 season basically, but I love the upside. I think he could potentially have a high ceiling. And I'm going to take the value here because in Superflex, if you've got QBs, you've got options. And if he pans out and he's a top 15 pick in the draft, which I'm expecting him to, you can always move him for another position need, either flip him for a quality running back. And really another reason I want to take it because I just can't wait to see what the rest of the draft falls like with you two still needing quarterbacks. So I'm taking Trey Lance here, and I'm going to fill that Superflex position. And one last thing too. I remember a phone call or listening to sports radio here in Philadelphia. Carson Wentz went to North Dakota State too. He has a relationship with him, and he talked a lot about he met him, talked about his intangibles, the film room, the leadership. He's got those intangible qualities, so I'm going to roll the dice here with Trey Lance.
That's a good pick, man. That's who I wanted. And now I am in a tough quarterback position here. With the last pick in the first round, though, I'm going to just, at this point, I'm taking the L at the quarterback position, and I'm going to try to make up with the rest of the way here. So I'm going to go at 112. I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts. Of all people, how was I the one that ended up with Kyle Pitts in this draft, fellas? I feel like I'm the one who's been fading Pitts, but he's right here. Pitts is 12 on my big board, and I think this is the value of Kyle Pitts. At NFL Draft Bible, we've done a series of one quarterback mock drafts here. His current ADP is 107 in our mock drafts. In one of those mock drafts, he went 101, and these are industry analysts. All right, so there are folks who are very high on Kyle Pitts, but at 112, this is perfect. This is where I'm excited to get this tight end, and he's the first tight end coming off the board here in our mock draft. So, gentlemen, before we actually jump into the second round, just going to do a quick recap of what our teams are looking like here after the first round of this mock draft. So I have Travis Etienne, Jamar Chase, and Kyle Pitts. I'm feeling good, but I have ignored the quarterback position, so I might not be feeling too good after the second round. John is here with Najee Harris, Rashad Bateman, and Javonte Williams. Some might call this the Matt Fades team because he has both Javonte and Bateman, who I tend to be a little bit lower on than everybody else. Anthony has the Trevor Lawrence, Devonta Smith, Zach Wilson. He's got a really well-rounded team, but that quarterback foundation is really strong. And then Brandon also has a strong quarterback foundation there with Justin Fields and Trey Lance to go along with Jalen Waddle. To start off the second round, I'm going to take one of my guys. I love this value for him, and that's Terrace Marshall, the wide receiver out of LSU. I feel like we are just forgetting. Oh, did I snipe you, Brandon?
You did.
There's some karma for you.
Yeah.
All right, that's for the Trey Lance pick. Maybe we'll
send me an offer.
Yeah, you got to talk some trades on the side, I guess. I think we're letting Terrace Marshall fall by the wayside. If he was extremely productive with Jamar Chase there, without Jamar Chase there, he's a smooth, fluid player. I think you can line him up anywhere on the field in the NFL, and he's going to go out there, he's going to run crisp routes, he's going to catch the ball. He just wins. He's long, he's lengthy. The way, I'm not comparing him as player at all, but the way that you got the T. Higgins value in your drafts this year, he just seemed to always fall to the second round of your rookie drafts, and then you smashed on that value. I think that's the same way you're going to smash on Terrace Marshall value. I'm not comparing the players, not their play style, but the way that you could get fantasy football value from them. I'm excited to get him here at 201, and it sounds like, Brandon, you got to do a little pivot now.
Yeah, I'm going to pivot, and I agree with John going with bigger players, especially with running backs and wide receivers, but I'm going to kind of go off script with that thought process for this particular player, and I'm going to go with Elijah Moore from Ole Miss, 5'9", 185 pounds.
I love Elijah.
He really blew up this year, and every year he's gotten more productive. He's a versatile player. He can win short, intermediate, vertical. I think he's a smooth route runner. He had an 85% catch rate this year and 71% over his 3-year career. So, I think he's got the breakout age at 19.3. And I like the fact that he's actually going to the NFL as a junior. I could see him as a wide receiver 3 on a team that has like twin trees on both sides at the X and Z receiver position. So, he's my wide receiver 10 right now on my dashboard. I'm going to go with the upside. Yeah, he's a little smaller than I like in receivers. I got 2 smaller receivers so far, but I got a big one I'm going to maybe target later on. But yeah, I'm going to go with Elijah Moore here.
All right, John, that brings us back to you here with the 203.
I love Elijah Moore. He's in my top 5. He's my number 5. I think he's going to be spectacular. Brandon, I was so mad that you took him. So I have to pivot here. And I get a little bit lucky. I look at the board. Anthony's got 2 quarterbacks. He can't take my quarterback. So I know who I'm going to take in my future picks. So I'll take him later because my guy's going to be on the board because I picked before Matt. I'm going with the wide receiver who I think has really popped this year. If you're into early breakout age, you might not like this player. But Kadarius Toney of Florida. I watched Florida for Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask. And I watched a lot of the Gators this year because that's who I started scouting. And as I'm watching the Gators, I just kept seeing this guy, Kadarius Toney, make play after play after play. In today's NFL, when you watch what Tyreek Hill does, and Toney's not Tyreek Hill, but putting him in motion, jet sweeps, putting him in the backfield, quick passes, he runs deep. NFL teams are going to be searching for that type of player. They're looking for that. General managers want that. Offensive coordinators want that. Kadarius Toney has that in him. He's an all-purpose player. He was SEC first-team all-purpose. He led Florida in catches, receiving yards, and all-purpose yards. And that's with Kyle Pitts on the team. I don't think he's an immediate contributor from day one. NFL teams, I think, are going to like him more than us kind of nerds looking outside because his value could be greater to the scheme than it is actually on the field. I think the NFL teams are going to like him. I think he's going in the first round. So there's going to be draft capital here with Kadarius Toney. I like him a ton. I don't think he can contribute from day one. However, I kind of felt the same thing with Ayuk. I loved Ayuk last year, but I didn't think he could come in right away, and I was completely wrong. He smashed. He was even better than I could have ever imagined. So it's not a magical bullet. Any of us who love football know there is no magical benchmark statistic anywhere. Brandon Ayuk came from JUCO college, late breakout, and he's a stud. So Kadarius Toney showed me on the field against the SEC that he's tremendous. I'll take him here.
All right. I like it. Anthony, no running backs in 2 picks here. So let's see if that's where he decides to go on the turn or if he goes full fade.
We're fading him, baby. I'm fading the running back.
All right.
You might as well now, right?
It doesn't make a difference anymore. With the 204, I'm going to take a player that I don't think I've had the chance to take in any other mock I've done thus far, and that's Purdue wide receiver Rondale Moore. He typically, I think, goes a little early for my taste, but here is right about where I'm willing to roll the dice on him. The concerns that I have are durability, and I think landing spot will be big for him, and not trying to get miscast in an offense as just a slot receiver and nothing more, but he's an explosive, unique weapon that needs to be featured in a multitude of ways, get the ball in his hands, and he can take it quite literally anytime he touches it. So almost halfway through round 2, I will take the shot on him at the 204 for sure. And then at 205, Matt, like you had said, how we're forgetting about Terrace Marshall. I think this is a player that gets forgotten about all the time, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to take Amon-Ra in the halfway through the second round every time I can. And I think he is so underrated. All he's done throughout his college career is create separation inside, outside. He can catch the ball superb. He's produced whenever he's had the opportunity. And I think he's just flying a little under the radar since he's not quite as maybe twitchy or, the super high level athlete that some of the other guys are. But I feel good about Amon-Ra coming in and being a productive wide receiver, honestly, pretty early on in his career, almost regardless of where he lands.
Anthony, those picks are so interesting, and I think they really kind of summarize why I love tracking rookies over time, because I think both of these guys, they hit this ADP. I think this is kind of where we're seeing them go off the board. But a year ago, Rondale Moore would have been a lock top 5 pick, and Amon-Ra St. Brown would have been a 3rd round pick. And now we've kind of gotten to this place where their values are crossing in the middle. So I think those are 2 really fun guys to see go right next to each other. And now, John, there's 2 quarterbacks left on the board, right? And one of them I don't like, and one of them I really don't like. So you're up, and you get to decide, I guess, how bad it is for me. So go ahead and make your pick.
So I believe there's 1 quarterback on the board right now, not 2. So to me, there was absolutely 0 choice. I like Mac Jones. I'm falling in love with him more and more. I understand in fantasy football, his ceiling might be limited because he doesn't give you that magical rushing yardage that we like. So I get that. Fantasy football, Trey Lance will probably be more valuable because of the upside with his ability to rush the football. NFL teams, I believe now Mac Jones is going to get drafted ahead of Trey Lance from an NFL perspective. You're telling me with a $2 million a year job, so I'm betting my family, my house, and my career on a kid from Alabama who won the national title or a kid from North Dakota State who played 17 games. 17 games. I guarantee you the person with the $2 million decision is going with Mac Jones. He's a first-round pick now. To me, there's not even a question if he is. It's just, does he go in the top 15 or does he go in the top 25? He's going much earlier. Look, he's knocking everything off the ballpark. And his numbers in my model are silly from a passing standpoint. But he doesn't get yardage. His escapability, he's not going to get you 300 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. But he can manipulate the pocket. He's not, the last couple of years of Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning. He's young. He can move in the pocket, and he can throw. He can reset and throw off platform. Mac Jones is going to go early. Now, in a super flex, I like the value. He's a great second quarterback or a third quarterback because you don't need – if you have like a Deshaun Watson, if you have one of those type of teams, I would love to have Mac Jones as my second quarterback because he does have a potential to throw 30 touchdowns and 4,500 yards. But he's not going to get you the 600 rushing with the Josh Allen numbers. He just can't do that with his legs. But you give me a second quarterback for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns? What if he goes to Pittsburgh? Oh, wow, with those receivers and Mike Tomlin? I don't know. I see a nice landing spot there. But I like Mac Jones. I'll take him here.
All right. That leaves me with a fantastic option. I can't wait for my pick. All right. Brandon, please just talk to me about a different player here with your 207.
I will. I'm going to fill my running back need and go with my RB4. I'm going to go with Trey Sermon. So I'm going to go with the theory. Again, I like bigger back, 6'1", 215. He's had an inconsistent career. He came out 2017, 2018, played great. Struggled in Oklahoma in 2019 a little bit, but he's averaged, 5.8 yards a carry his entire career. I think the games against Northwestern and Clemson showed me that he can be a bell cow, receiving 29 and 31 carries. So again, there is that cliff after Javonte Williams. I think after Javonte Williams, everyone's ranks are going to be differently. But again, with the size, I think in the film that I've watched on him, I'm going to take a shot with Trey Sermon here, fill my running back need.
Certainly a player gaining momentum at the right time. And sometimes that's what it's all about. And John mentioned, Mac Jones rising, and it feels like Trey Sermon maybe not at that same incline, but definitely heading down an upward trend. And my next player, I think, is a guy who is also gaining momentum. He's my wide receiver 6 right now. I think that very soon he's going to leapfrog Rondale Moore and get into my top 5. Rondale Moore is my 5 right now. Woo! And that's Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State. Now, Tylan Wallace, I feel like sometimes, guys, you watch tape and you try to convince yourself that the guy's not as good as what you're seeing, right? Because you're like, he just wins. He's physical. He's great along the boundary. He's got a good release. He burns in a straight line. And he came in the Senior Bowl. He weighed in the 190s with his level of physicality and that size. I like that a lot. He did so well in Mobile. He stopped practicing after the first 2 days. I think he's a lock day 2 pick. Don't be surprised if he sneaks into round 1. I'm not saying he's a lock 2, but it wouldn't surprise me if he snuck into the back end of round 1. A wide receiver needy team there sitting in the late 20s or, one of those 30 picks. So I like Tylan Wallace a lot. And I don't love the next pick I'm going to make, but guys, I got to do it. John talked about Mac Jones having a really good Senior Bowl week. Well, this guy didn't end up playing in the Senior Bowl, and I think it's going to hurt him. It's Kyle Trask. I don't know, guys. I couldn't take Jamie Newman, okay? I wanted to take Jamie Newman. I took Kyle Trask. But hey, I mean, listen here. Kyle Trask, I think he'll probably still go day 2, but it wouldn't surprise me if he fell to day 3 at this point. The last game he played was bad. That's the taste that's going to be in the mouth of NFL front offices when he gets drafted. Wasn't able to put on the pads because of the injury at Mobile. We're not going to get to see a combine, so they're going to get to see a pro day. They're going to get to do some character interviews. I don't know. I've heard that he's closer to round 4 than he is round 1 at this point in time, so I have a lot of hesitations. At this point, you could start taking shots on guys like Jamie Newman, Kellen Mond, Ian Book, Sam Ehlinger. Pick X quarterback that you like. None of them are probably going to hit, so I'm in a tough spot. I got a little too cute here. This is the lesson to learn. Don't get cute in your Superflex leagues. All right? Especially when you're drafting with sharks like I am, all right? But Brandon, go ahead and get me off of Kyle Trask here and talk to me about your final pick. We have a flex spot to fill.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a wide receiver that I've liked for a long time. He opted out this year, and it's Nico Collins for Michigan. 6'4", 215 pounds. I usually say people go to die in Michigan, as far as Devy players, right? But he was certainly, yeah, it's true, right?
Charb's free. Charbonnet is free.
Yeah, right. Good.
Charbonnet's free.
Now, look, there were some reports coming out of the Senior Bowl this week that he wasn't creating space, but I'm not worried. What I saw on tape was a guy that had good acceleration off the line of scrimmage, good hand fighting skills, and he wins vertical. You guys saw those films I made for you for your shows.
Yes.
He's a vertical threat, great ball tracking ability. He averaged 19.7 yards a catch is 2019, and he's got some decent wheels for being 215. He's apparently a 4.48, 40. So I'm going to go with the upside, with him. I've always liked him, and I'm going to round out the end of my draft with Nico Collins.
And Brandon, before we move on to John's final pick, do you want to just once again tell everybody where they can find your work?
Yeah, sure. You can find me at Devy Deep Dive on Twitter. I have a Devy dashboard product that I can provide for all the Devy junkies out there. It's a great community. We have a Slack chat. We have rankings, and I do films. Filmmaking is what I love to do. I love to make breaking down films. There's analytic guys. There's film guys. I'm definitely a film guy. My podcast is Devy Deep Dive.
Yeah, I love the podcast and I love the dashboard as well. My goodness, the amount of resources that go into this dashboard, it's ridiculous. It's such a good.
It's awesome, Brandon.
It's such a good resource.
Yeah.
All right, John, your last pick here. You have a Superflex spot to fill, which I imagine you're not going to use to get a second quarterback.
There's that. I can't go second quarterback here. I think they're all long shots. I mean, if one player got into the second round here, then maybe there might be some draft capital argument. But everyone left on the board in my book is a day 3 prospect. So I'm not going to go quarterback here. I wanted Nico Collins. I like Nico Collins, and I heard the same things, wasn't separating. But that's not how he wins.
Right.
Nico Collins does not win with separation. He's going to win other ways. So I think he's going to be a little bit dependent on where he lands, but I do like Nico Collins. And look, we've seen what Donovan Peoples-Jones did. Right. He had a I agree, Michigan is a place receivers go to die, but they both came in as highly talented, and Peoples-Jones was better in the NFL than he was in college at Michigan. So, and I got him on a lot of dynasty teams because he was like 5th round. Donovan Peoples-Jones was always sitting around, so I gobbled him up all over the place last year. I'm going to go here. I want a running back because I think the wide receivers in this draft are loaded. I mean, I have 25 guys, and I'm looking at 22, and I'm like, yes, in the right spot, right system, this young man can play. Running back, I don't feel comfortable outside the top 10. So I have one player here who I like a lot. I'm probably more bullish on him than most. I like Jermar Jefferson of Oregon State a ton. If I can get him late in the second round of a dynasty, early third, I'm ecstatic. 5'10", 217 pounds. And I'm on the East Coast. I love staying up and watching the Pac-12 after dark. It is one of my favorite things to do. And I don't think this game was actually, it was on late. Oregon versus Oregon State. I had liked Jermar Jefferson before that. He started with the bang, 3 straight games with over 100 yards. And then that game against Oregon, he was a monster. I mean, 226 yards rushing, 29 touchdowns. Watch that game, folks. He's tremendous in that game. And I like him. This is not just a one-game type analysis. I go back to his freshman year. 239 carries as a true freshman. 1,380 yards, averaging 5.8 yards per carry, and he had 12 touchdowns. What I like most about him, freshman year, he had 25 receptions, folks. Last year, he only had 9, but they did not use him in the passing game. They tweaked that offense. They were going to run it through the running game with Jamar Jefferson. They didn't really use him in the passing game. His freshman year is a better indicator. You better go watch some film from 2018 because he's a good receiver. He's not Najee Harris, but he's more than capable of catching the football at the NFL level. I like him a ton, so I'm going here Jamar Jefferson.
All right, one pick left here in the mock draft. And Anthony, before you make it, remind the folks again where they can find your work outside of si.com/draft/NFL/draft.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Dynasty Drive. And the podcast that I do of the same name, the Dynasty Drive, comes out once a week on Fridays. It's usually out first thing Friday morning. And you can check it out on any major podcast provider or on YouTube as well. And with the 212, I'm excited because I faded running back for this whole time, and I'm getting a guy I'm still happy with, like a guy I'm still pretty happy about. And it's Kenneth Gainwell from Memphis, who is still my running back 4. So if I can get him with the last pick in the second round, I'm going to be thrilled. I think it's somebody that I think is definitely flying under the radar after opting out of the 2020 season. But I think people are kind of forgetting that it's a player that in 2019 ran for almost 1,500 yards, had over 600 yards receiving. I know there's some people with questions about what he'll weigh in at. I'm not really worried about that. I think that what he can chip in the passing game is enough to offset, him not being a 210, 220-pound running back to pound it in between the tackles every time. And frankly, I think he's a player that was good enough last time we saw him at Memphis that he kept Antonio Gibson out of an every down role. I mean, he was an exciting, electric player. So if I can get a player like that, like I said, he's still my RB4. If I can get him with the last pick in round 2 of rookie drafts, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, you're swinging for the fences there, which is what you should be doing at that point anyway, so it's a good pick. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to go around and I'm going to just finish up by recapping everybody's team. But while I'm going through them, I always like to finish a group mock draft like this by just letting everyone go around and throw in a vote for their favorite team that's not their own. So just go ahead and gnaw on that a little bit here as I go around the room and go through everybody's team. So I ended up with Kyle Trask, Travis Etienne, Jamar Chase, Tylan Wallace, Kyle Pitts, and Terrace Marshall. I love 5 out of 6 of those picks. John ended up with Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Rashad Bateman, Javonte Williams, Kadarius Toney, and Jamar Jefferson. Anthony ended up with Trevor Lawrence, Kenneth Gainwell, Devonta Smith, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Rondale Moore, and Zach Wilson. And Brandon has Justin Fields, Trey Sermon, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Elijah Moore, and Trey Lance. I'm going to go ahead. I'll start by casting my vote. I swear, I got to stop mock drafting with this guy. Maybe I should stop drafting with you, Brandon, because every time I do a draft with you, I like your team better than I like my team. I think with the exception of Trey Sermon, you got 5 guys that I'm really heavy on. I really like them a lot, and I have nothing against Trey Sermon. I'm just kind of neutral towards him. So
sure.
With 5 out of 6 picks in 2 good quarterbacks, you got my vote. So we'll start there with my vote going to Brandon. John, who would your vote go to? You can't vote for yourself.
I wouldn't vote for myself anyways. I didn't think I hit a home run on this one. I'm biased because I'm going with my man Anthony here. I'm a huge Trevor Lawrence guy. I think he's the best quarterback in the last 8 years that I've scouted. I just don't understand the criticism. I think he's special. But we get bored of the Prince, and he's been the Prince for 4 years from high school. But the kid can play. I mean, he might be Andrew Luck. And Deshaun Watson. He's great. So I love that. I'm a big Zach Wilson guy. I'm all in. I could be proven wrong. I think Zach Wilson is special. I think he's Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. He plays off platform, and his arm is just tremendous. There's this play that I've been watching over and over. It's John Elway-esque. He rolls right, he plants his feet, and he throws the ball across the left hash mark 35 yards down the field. Watch clips of John Elway against Marty Schottenheimer, and he cost Marty Schottenheimer a bunch of rings. Elway was stupendous at that play. Probably one of the only guys I've ever seen who can do that. Zach Wilson does that, folks. He has some tremendous throws. Is he perfect? No, but I love Zach Wilson. And you got my guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would have taken him at the very end because I'm a big Amon-Ra St. Brown. Matt knows I liked him last year. I've been on him for a long time. I had him in a Dynasty College League, coming out as a freshman, early breakout age, production, route running. I like him a lot. Very underrated.
All right, 1 vote for Anthony, 1 vote for Brandon. So we'll go ahead and toss it to Anthony. Who would your pick be?
I have to go with Brandon. He's got this. If you had some other quarterbacks, man. But Brandon's team has the strong quarterbacks that I like in Superflex. Jalen Waddle is my wide receiver 2. I'm very, very high on him. And in any other year where Jamar Chase isn't a thing, I think Waddle is easily my wide receiver 1. I've really warmed up on Trey Sermon as of late as well, and Elijah Moore I just recently have got a chance to watch more of, and he's definitely somebody that is now over somebody like Kadarius Toney for me. So I really like what Brandon did, and Nico Collins I think has the upside to really pay off as well.
All right, Brandon, who you got?
I'm sorry, Matt. I just want to apologize in the beginning here. You're gonna get the goose egg, but I'm actually honestly looking at these teams. I mean, Anthony, I'm thinking about, but I like John's team because he's got those 3 stable of running backs, and if Javonte Williams hits, we think Najee Harris is going to hit, and you're going to come out with 2 RB1s out of that draft. And Mac Jones, I agree with you. I've been a Mac Jones fan. I think he, again, for all the reasons you said, John, with the production, I think he's going to be a really good player. And Rashad Bateman, I'm high on as well. Kadarius Toney, yeah, I'm still, warming up to him. But, with those 3 quality running backs, Shamar Jefferson too, you come out of a draft with 3 solid running backs, you consider yourself, especially with the depth of this wide receiver position. You can fill in later on in the round. So I think you did a nice job, John.
That's why I kind of did it. I'm a running back guy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm 37 years into playing fantasy football or something. Whatever it is, it's not that long. It's like 33. But I do lean towards the running backs.
All right, gentlemen. Well, this was a really fun exercise to engage in here. A 2-round Superflex PPR non-tight end mock draft where we really built out a couple of teams. Make sure to check out Brandon's work at Devy Deep Dive, Anthony's work at Dynasty Drive. My co-host John Lobb is at the Gridiron, SCHOL91, and I'm on Twitter at the FF_educator. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening into the NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network feed, wherever podcasts are provided. And thanks for listening.